Hello and welcome to another wilderness tamed gardening video. It's the depths of winter, January here in the northeast of England, and going to look at just how a garden starts to wake up as soon as the daylight hours change. So we've passed the shortest day, and sunset is now sort of after 4 p.m. rather than a bit before. And the weather's been surprisingly good for January. I don't want to say too much and jinx it. We had a cold week last week. The ponds were frozen in the garden. But it's mild again this week. And we had a mild first week, last week of December, first week of January was very mild as well. So I've just come back to one of my regular gardens and I'm going to show you around and just to see what's showing a bit of colour, what's of interest. So I'll pause you and flip you around so you can see what I'm looking at rather than my wrinkly old face. So I know it's not a native plant and not all of these that we look at will be, but a nice little splash of winter colour, Jasminum nudiflorum. Nudiflorum meaning it flowers on bare stems. Nudi, yeah, who'd have thought it? But good resilient shrub, generally grown as a wall shrub, trained up trellis and on wires and things, but can equally be used as a ground cover or to grow up through a tree. Ferns, some ferns are very resilient and will retain their leaves or fronds throughout the winter, so they can be a great splash of colour and lovely, shapes, foliage and stuff, bird's nest fern there. But you do tend to find that these will start to look a little bit raggedy as the winter progresses. And come the spring, it's a bit early at the minute, you'll get the new fronds developing down in the crowns. So you can cut away the old leaves to make room for the new stuff coming through. Now over here, under this, we've got a forsythia here and an acer and a cotoneaster, all sort of shading this part of the garden. And this was bare ground. In fact, actually, there was a lot of ground elder in here. And what I've done from the bottom of the garden, I've taken divisions from this variegated ajuga, this bit of pulmonaria there, the lungwort, some symphytum, the ground covering symphytum, and some of the ornamental lamium, and there's some more ajuga around the corner. So it's quite a dark, shady site. So light-leaved things or pale flowering things, just to add a little bit of colour to this. So they'll fill out and cover that quite nicely. This thing's been flowering since last summer. So the herbs, the rosemary and the lavender, obviously, the sage, a little bit bare at the minute. Iris here, not doing too much. Gonna get rid of this ropey looking hebe at some stage. Here's another winter flowering shrub, the Pyrus japonica, just about to come into flower. Again, nice evergreen, then of course it's famous for its red foliage. Ground covering geraniums, pretty much retain the leaves throughout the year. I've put in a Mahonia cross-media charity there, which I got from another garden that wasn't required, and that will again in a couple of years' time start producing some nice winter colour, nice yellow flowers. A lot of the ground cover stuff. There's this, do you remember the video from sort of November when I was mulching the beds with all the leaves from the aces, all the fallen autumn leaves? So they've retained that nice thick mulch there. Coming out to another dry shady spot underneath a holly. And these oriental hellebores, which should be, oh yeah, there we go. They're starting to put out some flower heads there. So in a few months' time, there'll be lots of nodding purple and black heads there. That's a decent little bit of winter cover or evergreen colour. Variegated fats here. rhodo behind it. Quite interesting, the nice red undersides to the leaves on that. Another bed of geraniums, which I'm going to add more interest into. There's foxgloves you can see there, and pulmonaria, and I've just bought this witch hazel, which is a great winter flowering shrub. Nice scent to it as well. Couldn't find any of the yellow flowering ones, which stand out a bit more, but this has got the deep red, which should go and show up quite well against the ivy on the wall there. So I've got things like the native ragged robin down here, a little drift of those. Again, a nice crown of foliage throughout. There's a spotted pulmonarias there, so quite interesting. They should be flowering very shortly. There's the piggyback plant, which I think is it Telema or something? More foxgloves. I've left in this big drift of Herb Robert because it's an excellent ground cover. It's lovely foliage, covered in little pink flowers through the summer. Quite a long flowering season, and because it's part of the geranium family, there are certain bees and hoverflies absolutely love it. So these are some of the ground cover plants that I purloined cuttings from to plant up in that first border we saw. And this area I've again mulched with leaves. Within a few months, that's a carpet of dog violets, absolutely covered in dog violets. I've also interplanted lily of the valley, snowdrops, valerian, common valerian, and there's some ferns as well. So there's some sort of white flowering stuff just to lift. Again, it's a shady corner under a few trees and backed by a fairly awful Lalandi hedge. It's the fruit beds. So I've got the blueberries, raspberries and strawberries in here. Bit of ground cover from yellow-toed flax, some other things. And then we're round into a more, this little woodland section. Obviously the ferns, these ferns did go over during the autumn, so they were cut back. But there's still plenty coming through. You can see the cyclamen, the ferns again. Lots of rosettes of foxglove, little hellebores, and these arums, which I think I mentioned in a previous video. They've come through there, a mulch of leaf mould, and lovely striking leaf colour. There's our native hellebore, the stinking hellebore, Helleborus fetidus. These are not quite open yet, but they're a lovely lime green flower, little nodding flower. And then there's some Christmas hellebore as well, just poking a few flowers through there. And more cyclamen, which again, lovely leaf. And hello. Even a primrose is sending up a flower bud. It's a little bit premature, maybe. Toad flax, quite nice foliage. So yeah, plenty going on there. And we're around to the shrubs, the perennial border. Again, the crowns of those. There's always bulbs coming to the surface. Sage is looking a bit tatty. But there are shoots coming through there. See a few little things showing. Buddleia always have a few leaves on. And yeah, here's some of the native stuff. So there's the oreganum, Jacob's ladder, meadow sweet, knapweeds, scabious, the achillea, oxeye daisies here. And then if we look up here, the cornfield annuals that were in last summer have reseeded, come up, and they're just going to sit tight through the winter. And so at least you get a covering of green, and then they'll be away again and flower very early in the summer and hopefully give a longer season. So all is well. And now for the weather. This is where you live, or kind of where I live. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of a garden that's just beginning to wake up and look forward to spring. I'm certainly looking forward to spring. I'm not a big fan of winter. If you've enjoyed this, you found it useful or just entertaining, and with a little bit of informative, factual stuff, then you might like to subscribe. That would be nice. Everybody on YouTube likes subscribers, and if you liked it, you could give it a little thumbs up. If you didn't like it, jog on. And what's the last thing? Oh yeah, if you do subscribe, it might be worth hitting the little bell icon, and then you'll get a notification when the next video comes out, which will hopefully be next Wednesday. Let's see where that takes us. So I bid you good night and farewell. Happy gardening and enjoy. See you in the next one. Thanks.